How does power get to your house? Well, it starts out coming down these power lines from either a nuclear power plant or a coal-fired power plant, or it could be a turbine power plant from a river, from a dam. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and ring the bell. But it comes to these wires, and it comes to that is called a transformer. So the raw power or whatever voltage they have coming into that depends on where you're at and how close you are to the stations. And then it transforms from there to the house voltage that you need at your house. So then you have the little cables that come down from the transformer that lead down to your house. That's called a drop. Now here is an example of the wires coming from the power pole after it's went through the transformer. And you see the one right there that has the white tape on it. That one is the other two. They both have voltage on them. 110 volts each. And it goes into your weather head, and then from there it comes down to your meter box, and from the meter box it goes over to your breaker panel. And then when it comes over to your breaker panel, it goes into these breakers. Now all breaker panels will have a main breaker for the house. Our main breaker is over here, and it is 200 amps. That's 200 amps. So that means throughout the house we can spread out upward around 200 amps in the house, but you want to keep it less than that. You don't want to overload the breaker, or the breaker will start tripping. So down here you can see that we've got these other breakers here. These are for the air conditioner in the house. And this one right here is 100 amps. So I've already got it going to the air conditioners, and I've taken 100 amps and sent it into the house to another breaker panel in the house to distribute power to all the outlets and the stove and stuff like that, the microwave and all that, and all the outlets, all the lights in the ceiling. You have to do the calculations, but you can do so many light fixtures and so many outlets on one 15 amp breaker. And then like a refrigerator, you should have it on like a 20 amp breaker, and it should be dedicated to the refrigerator. The same thing with air conditioners. They should be on a dedicated line and not shared with anything else. So now after the power comes into the breaker panel, it comes in the head outside, goes to the power pole, comes down to your meter box, comes over to your breaker panel, your 200 amps, 200 amp breaker panel right there, and then the 100 amp was down here, and it comes off and it goes into the house to another breaker panel. And so that's 100 amp. Comes in here, and you got two bus bars. So you got your two bus bars in here, and on each side you're going to have breakers. Well, you're also going to have another bar. And remember the white wire we talked about that came out here, the white wire? Well, the white wire comes in here and it goes to here. That's your white wire. And then you have 110 volts here, and you have 110 here, and that's how you get power to each outlet. So on the 110 outlets you will have you'll also have a ground in here before I forget, and it will go out and travel with this line and go down here to the ground. This is earth. They also call it earth. Your earth. So you're going to have your ground here. We'll just do that just for demonstration. And you're going to have your center here is going to be the ground that came from the pole. So you have two grounds. But this one is not actually called a ground. It's actually called a neutral. Neutral. So the one in the middle here from the white wire is the neutral, but it's a ground. So In order to get 110 volts, you have to have earth is your ground, and this right here is your neutral. Don't let me mess you up. So you got 4 wires. You got 110, you got 110, you have your neutral, and then you have your ground. Now, you also have another breaker, and those breakers actually cross over, and they catch both. That's why they have 2 switches on them, and they catch both 110 volts. So you have 2 of those coming out to an outlet that has 4. It can have 3. It can have 3 or 4. You can set up for 3 or 4 outlets, holes in your outlet to plug it into. So you're going to have 110. You're going to have 110, and you're going to have the ground. And you can also have it like this. You can have 4. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can have 110, 110, and you can have the neutral and ground. So you could have it that way. It could be that way. But this is more common right here, just a 3 wire. This is 3. And this is called single phase, and it's for the house, for residential. So that's how you do that. So now, one thing that you want to have if you're testing your power and stuff, the old power tester. And that shows that you have power on the one leg, and then the other ones don't have power because that's a neutral and a ground. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Get you a tester. You can get them at Harbor Freight Tools and check it out. But you got some different components here. You got your power station, comes to your transformer, comes down your drop to your house, comes to your main breaker. That breaker breaks off and goes to your breaker box in the house, which distributes the power through the house. And then you have 110 volts, and you have 220 volts throughout the house, depending on if you need 220 or 110 for ranges for 220, and for light fixtures and wall outlets are your 110 volts. So give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll have another one for you soon. You guys have a fantastic day.